In order to prevent COVID-19, this forum will be conducted in compliance with the second step of social distancing guidelines. Please wear a mask during the session. Thank you to all attendees, especially our students who are participating both online and offline in the midst of their busy schedule. I am Professor Lee Ji-eun, Vice Director of Critical Foreign Language Education. To begin today's forum, we have invited several distinguished guests and dignitaries to be present with us. It is great my honor to introduce Your Excellencies. Ambassador Ramzi Teymurov of Republic of Azerbaijan. Ambassador Piotr Ostaszewski of Republic of Poland. Ambassador Manuel Gonçalves de Jesus of Republic of Portugal. Ambassador Luis Henrique Sobreira Lopes from Federative Republic of Brazil. Ambassador Romani Kananurak of Kingdom of Thailand. Ambassador Zakaria Al-Saadi of Sultanate of Oman. Ambassador Muwindi Muinzi of Republic of Kenya. Charles Dafer Omer Chelikol of Republic of Turkey. Deputy Chief of Mission Surinder Bhagat of Republic of India. Deputy Chief of Mission Zakir Saidov of Republic of Uzbekistan. Deputy Chief of Mission Aslan Askar of Republic of Kazakhstan. He is on behalf of Ambassador Baku Dusanbayev due to his urgent issues. And Education Attaché Mr. Gogot Suharwoto of Republic of Indonesia. He is on behalf of Ambassador Umar Hadi. He was recently potentially exposed to the COVID-19 and consequent quarantine. Unfortunately, he is unable to attend today's forum. And President of National Institute for International Education, Kim Young-gun. And President Hanguk University of Foreign Studies, Kim In-chul. Vice President of Hanguk University of Foreign Studies, Yoon Seok-man. Director of Critical Foreign Language Education, Oh Jong-jin. And Professor Choi Jong-chan. Also, Dean of International Affairs, Academic Affairs, and Administration of Support is here to celebrate the event. Thank you very much for your attending. We would like to express our wholehearted thanks to all of our honorable professors who are representing CFLE here on site as well as online, and for sharing your time with us by attending this forum. Starting now, we will commence the first CFL Ambassador Forum. First, Dr. Kim In-chul, the President of Hanguk University of Foreign Studies, would like to deliver a few welcoming remarks. Please give a big round of applause.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to meet you in this way, I mean face-to-face, although we have many participants through the online as well. I have brought the text with me, so allow me to read this text. Greetings to our distinguished guest. This is Kim In-chol, President of Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Let me begin by sincerely welcoming everyone visiting Hankuk University of Foreign Studies to attend the first CFL, Critical Foreign Language Ambassador Forum. I would like to start off by thanking all the ambassadors and consuls from each country attending today's forum. I would also like to thank Kim Young-gon, President of National Institute of International Education, for attending and supporting today's event, and Oh Jong-jin, Director of the HUF's Center for Promotion of Critical Foreign Language Education, for organizing this authentic event. I will also take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude and welcome professors from various departments and students from those departments fostering language specialists who are joining us online. Hankuk University of Foreign Studies is developing into a leading interdisciplinary institution of learning that encompasses the world's language, humanity, liberal arts, social sciences, and science and technology, based on its 45 different language education specializations and global network. Among these programs, we are striving to foster creative and convergent talent, specializing in foreign language through the Critical Language Education Project. These specialists are essential for the nation's entry into and exchanges with strategic regions, and will soon serve as assets that support the strengthening of national competitiveness. Since last year, all of us have been witness to unprecedented change. Social distancing and online communication have become commonplace against the backdrop of COVID-19, and work environments are naturally undergoing a digital transformation as well. In the post-COVID-19 era, the untapped classroom appears to offer a solution in the field of education. In line with the times, the HUF's Center for Promotion of Critical Foreign Language Education is also diversifying its online programs and making efforts to enhance a quality educational environment through continuous feedback between learners and educators. We are striving to provide demand-based critical foreign language education by offering customized online programs, even to the general public who previously found it difficult to access such opportunities. Today's forum will serve as a valuable opportunity to further solidify the central pillar of the global network for promotion of the strategically important foreign language education to this country. As such, Hankuk University of Foreign Studies will cooperate with all stakeholders involved and serve as the center of an education network that contributes to an expanded foundation for cooperation and solidarity with the relevant critical regions and fosters outstanding professional talent imbued with sense of social and cultural awareness and literacy. I look forward to a successful and meaningful forum today. So thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you for the remark, President Kim In-cheol. Next, there will be a congratulatory message from Mr. Kim Young-gon, the President of National Institute of International Education. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good afternoon. My name is Young-gon Kim, President of National Institute of International Education. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to give a speech at the Critical Foreign Language Ambassador Forum. It is my great honor to stand here to celebrate the opening of this forum and to contribute to the promotion of critical foreign language education in Korea. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to President Kim In-cheol of Hankuk University of Foreign Studies and Director Oh Jong-jin for organizing this meaningful event. I also appreciate all ambassadors for your precious involvement in today's discussion. Since the Act on Critical Foreign Language Education Promotion was legislated in 2016, various projects have been ongoing on a national scale to create the educational infrastructure of such language as well as to cultivate professionals. This year, very important for us, we are making the second 5-year plan for the next year. Now, the Korean Ministry of Education is working together with different ministries, such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Justice, and the Ministry of Culture. In addition, we are designing new projects to collaborate with embassies in Korea. That's why your opinions and the shared here today will be extremely valuable. I highly expect your great insight and creative ideas to promote your language education in Korea. Once again, thank you for your contributions to promote the critical foreign language education. I hope this forum could be a stepping stone for cross-border cooperation between your country and Korea. Enjoy your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your speech, President Kim Young-gon. Now we have two congratulatory messages from the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea. First is Congressperson Mr. Park Jin, and second is Mr. Kang Duk-gu. Unfortunately, they were not able to attend in person today, but they have sent us their warm welcoming remarks by video. Now we will listen to the Congressperson Mr. Park Jin to celebrate today's forum.
안녕하십니까. 국민의힘 강남을 국회의원 박진입니다. 현장에 계신 참석자 여러분, 온택트 방식으로 온라인으로 진행하는 행사에서 여러분께 인사드릴 수 있게 돼서 영광스럽게 생각합니다. 오늘 제1회 Cfl 특수외국어 대사 포럼 개최를 진심으로 축하드립니다. 뜻깊은 포럼을 마련해 주신 한국외국어대학교 김인철 총장님, 국립국제교육원 김영곤 원장님, 그리고 특수외국어교육진흥원 오종진 원장님께 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 그리고 오늘 자리를 빛내주시기 위해 특수외국어 사용 국가의 여러 대사님들께서 참석해 주신 것으로 알고 있습니다. 오늘날 글로벌 시대에 여러 대사님들과 함께 한국 내 특수외국어 교육 확산과 교류 방안 모색을 주제로 포럼을 개최한 것은 대단히 시의적절하다고 생각합니다. 최근 국내 기업의 신흥시장 진출, 그리고 국가 교류의 다변화, 해외 취업, 또 스타트업 같은 창업으로 인해서 다양한 언어의 수요가 늘어나고 있습니다. 이런 변화에 발맞춰서 교육부는 지난 2016년 특수외국어 교육진흥에 관한 법률을 제정했습니다. 국가 발전에 전략적으로 필요한 53개 언어를 특수외국어로 지정했습니다. 이에 따라 본격적으로 특수외국어에 대한 국가적 차원의 지원이 시작됐습니다. 각국의 언어는 그 나라의 위상을 말해줍니다. 교육부에 따르면 우리나라의 경우 코로나19에도 불구하고 2020년 기준 39개국의 1699개 교회에서 한국어를 채택해서 약 16만 명이 한국어를 배웠다고 합니다. 또한 한국어는 전 세계에서 두 번째로 높은 인구를 자랑하는 인도에서 제2외국어로 채택했습니다. 베트남에서는 작년 7월 한국어를 제2외국어로 채택한 것에 이어서 올해 2월 제1외국어로 채택하였습니다. 특수외국어 중 하나였던 한국어가 사회 경제적으로 성장함에 따라 세계 주요 외국어 반열에 올라 있습니다. 이제는 우리가 53개의 특수외국어에 대한 교육 기반을 마련해서 글로벌 소통과 경제 문화 교류를 한층 더 높게 업그레이드 해야 할 것입니다. 오늘 포럼에 참석해 주신 각국의 대사님들께서 적극적으로 협조해 주신다면 특수외국어에 대한 양질의 교육이 확산되고 나아가 특수외국어 인재를 양성할 수 있을 것입니다. 특수외국어 진흥을 위한 연구와 교육, 다양한 프로그램의 기획과 참여가 이루어질 수 있도록 관계자 여러분의 전폭적인 노력과 지원을 당부드립니다. 저 역시 국회에서 특수외국어 진흥을 위해 노력하겠습니다. 아무쪼록 이번 포럼이 특수외국어 교육 기반 조성의 튼튼한 주춧돌이 되길 기원합니다. 다시 한번 오늘 포럼 개최를 진심으로 축하드립니다. 감사합니다.
The following congratulatory remark comes from Congressperson Mr. 강두구.
여러분 반갑습니다. 더불어민주당 국회 교육위원회 소속 안양 만안구 국회의원 강두구입니다. 오늘 특수외국어 관련 국가 대사님들을 모시고 제1회 특수외국어 대사 포럼을 열게 돼서 매우 뜻깊게 생각합니다. 4차 산업혁명 시대를 맞아서 다변화된 해외 시장과 복잡해진 글로벌 환경하에서 애국어, 더 나아가서 특수애국어의 중요성이 날로 증가하고 있습니다. 애국어는 더 이상 단순히 의사소통 도구로만 사용되지 않고 국익과 그리고 국가 안보를 지키는 전략 자산입니다. 다양하고 새로운 언어를 배우는 것은 우리와 다른 문화를 접하고 그리고 그 언어를 사용하는 사회의 사고와 문화, 정서까지 함께 교류하는 기회가 된다는 측면에서 단순히 언어학습 그 이상의 의미를 지닙니다. 이 포럼을 주관하는 특수외국어교육진흥원과 한국외국어대학교는 외국어 교육 분야에서 중추적인 역할을 담당해왔고 앞으로도 많은 역할이 기대됩니다. 오늘 특수외국어 사용국가의 언어와 문화를 각 대사님들께 직접 들어볼 수 있는 아주 의미 있고 그리고 귀중한 시간이 될 것이라고 저는 봅니다. 특수외국어 교육 확산을 위한 방안을 모색하고 그리고 국내의 협력 체계를 구축하는 중요한 토대를 이룰 수 있을 것으로 기대합니다. 포럼에 함께해 주신 모든 분들께 다시 한번 감사드립니다. 감사합니다.
Next, there will be a keynote speech from Professor Oh Jong-jin, Director of Critical Foreign Language Education. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Excellencies and distinguished guests, I'm Professor Chung Jin-ho, currently serving as the director of the Center for Critical Foreign Education at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. The Center for Critical Foreign Language Education and HUBS was established in 2018 to build the critical foreign language education in Korea in accordance with the purpose of an act on the promotion of education critical foreign language in 2016. The act aims to provide the various specialized educational opportunities to people who wish to learn critical foreign languages in Korea and contribute to the enhancement of a national competitiveness by educating the talented individuals with the ability to communicate in critical foreign language. In phase 1 of the critical foreign language program, 15 languages have been selected, and our center is currently offering 11 language programs among them. HUBS is the largest largest foreign studies university in Korea, and of course in Asia too, currently offering 45 language courses. Hence, our center has the greatest capacity to incorporate more languages in upcoming programs. Learning a foreign language usually starts from taking an interest in a certain country and developing into a passion to communicate ideas in that language. However, I believe foreign language learning is ultimately learning about people. Accordingly, understanding languages and cultures will help us not only to promote mutual understanding, but also reciprocal cooperation. Thus, I think this forum, featuring the ambassadors of 12 different countries, is an important communication platform along our journey toward realizing the vision shown in the Act on the Promotion of Critical Foreign Language Education. I believe Cfl Ambassador Forum will create an opportunity for Korea to cooperate with relevant partners across national borders and promote critical foreign language education within the nation. Additionally, promoting critical foreign language education in Korea is also relevant to the 12 ambassadors today, considering the Excellency's mission in Korea. Creating a middleman to bridge two nations can be a greatest asset for the cooperation. HUBS has been playing a leading role in promoting critical foreign language education in Korea since 1954. However, with today's event and the Act on the Promotion of Critical Foreign Language Education, I hope that we can find a strong support from both inside and outside in this noble mission. I hope that today's forum will be a meaningful venue for all of us to reevaluate and re-examine the role and the value of critical foreign language in the development of relationship between South Korea and other relevant countries. Lastly, I would like to convey my deepest gratitude to all distinguished guests attending today's forum in person, despite the difficulties posed by the pandemic. Well, even today, as you have mentioned earlier, His Excellency Umar Hadi, the Ambassador of Indonesia, informed us early morning that he was close contact of the COVID-19 cases. Definitely, we are living in different and difficult world. Once again, thank you very much for your participation despite the many difficulties. Also, I would like to thank all students here and professors participating at online, making this forum even more meaningful event. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech, Professor Oh Jong-jin. Now we will have a commemorative photo session in compliance with the COVID-19 guidelines. President Kim In-cheol and President Kim Young-gon and distinguished ambassadors, please come up to the stage. Professor Yoon Sung-man and Professor Choi Jong-chan also comes to the stage, please. And make sure to wear a mask during the photo session. Now, the first session of New Southern and New Northern Policy Regions will begin. Professor Choi Jong-chan, former Vice President of Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, will chair the first session. In this session, we will have 6 presentations from the distinguished speakers from the Republic of Azerbaijan, Kingdom of Thailand, Republic of India, Republic of Uzbekistan, and Republic of Kazakhstan, and Republic of Indonesia.
Good afternoon, Excellencies and distinguished guests, colleagues, and our students. This place is not convenient for me. It's an honor to chair the first session of New Southern, New Northern Policy Regions. Countries in this region have recently emerged as strategic nations on the international arena. In this regard, the languages and cultures of these countries are attracting attention in our country as well as worldwide. I would like to mention 6 critical foreign languages, among others, in alphabetic order: Azerbaijani, Hindi, Bahasa Indonesia, Kazakh, Thai, Uzbek. Today, here in this session, the representatives of these languages will deliver their views or visions on critical foreign languages. I hope this time very meaningful, intuitive, future-oriented, and memorable. Now I may invite the first presenter, Her Excellency Romani Kannanurak from the Kingdom of Thailand. Please welcome her with applause.
First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to attend this important forum. I would like to congratulate Hankuk University of Foreign Studies for organizing this first Critical Foreign Language Ambassador Forum. This initiative demonstrates the commitment and determination of HOOF to promote the importance of learning foreign languages to Koreans and encourage cultural exchanges. In the spirit of today's forum, I would like to take this opportunity to give you a brief overview of the relationship between Thailand and the Republic of Korea, opportunities and benefits for learning Thai language and cooperation to promote Thai language studies. On my first point, Thailand and ROK established diplomatic relations on 1st October 1958, but the relationship began earlier when Thailand deployed troops to support the United Nations Command and ROK during the Korean War over the course of 3 years from 1950 to 1953. After the establishment of diplomatic relations, our close and cordial ties have extended to all fields. In 2012, Thailand and ROK upgraded the relations to a strategic partnership. Our relations reached another important milestone when President Moon Jae-in announced new Southern policy on 2015, with an aim to strengthen mutually beneficial cooperation with all 10 ASEAN member countries and India. To this end, President Moon paid an official visit to Thailand in September 2019. The President held a comprehensive discussion with Prime Minister of Thailand on enhancing bilateral cooperation. Important bilateral MOUs had been signed during the visit in various areas, such as cooperation in fourth industrial revolution, infrastructure development, and railway cooperation, smart city and Korean language study. Afterward, in November 2019, Prime Minister of Thailand held another bilateral meeting with President Moon. During 2019 ASEAN ROK commemorative summit in Busan, resulting in the signing of 2 more economic MOU on science, technology, and innovation, and investment cooperation in Thailand. In terms of economic cooperation, last year our bilateral trade stood at $10.8 billion and Korean investment in Thailand was valued at approximately $61 million, which make ROK the 12th biggest investor in Thailand. In 2019, approximately 1.8 million Korean tourists visited Thailand and 560,000 Thai visited ROK. However, it is unfortunate that the outbreak of COVID-19 interrupts trade, investment, and exchange of visit between Thailand and ROK. But the successful development of vaccine against COVID-19 virus has given us hope that our life will be able to return to normalcy. On my second point, opportunities and benefits for learning Thai language. According to HOPE, many alumni of Thai language major are employed in government organizations of ROK, such as Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration, Employment and Labor. Until now, there are approximately 1,068 Korean companies invested in Thailand. Major private firms such as Samsung, LG, in cooperation with HOPE, have regularly organized training programs for their employees before posting to Thailand. And close economic ties and potential high number of exchange of visits between our people suggest that there are a lot of opportunity to further enhance our cooperation. So I expect that it is likely that more Korean companies will expand their investment in Thailand, which will lead to more demand for Thai experts from Korean companies. On my last point, it is noteworthy that Thai language department at HOPE was established in 1966. which is one of the longest established Thai language department among universities outside Thailand. We are pleased to note that the Thai department has continued to offer courses both in Thai language and Thai studies in such areas as history, culture, literature. Another key component is extracurricular activities, which have been organized by lecturers and students, such as Thai language freshman camp, sport events, Asian Week. HOPE also signed MOU with 12 Thai universities to organize exchange programs which offer Korean students the opportunities to meet Thai students and experience Thai social environment. This exchange program will certainly strengthen people-to-people relation between our two countries. On our part, the embassy has also provided funding support for Hankook University to organize activities to promote the study and use of Thai language, such as Thai speech and essay competition, and all special seminars to encourage the study of Thai language and culture. Last but not least, I hope to see an expansion of cooperation between HOPE and university in Thailand in terms of the number of universities, and the strengthening of HOPE's Thai study program and Korean studies with your education partner in Thailand. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your encouraging remarks and concern for the expansion of cooperation between universities of the two countries. Kapkun, Your Excellency. And now I may invite the next presenter, His Excellency Ramji K. Murov, Ambassador of Republic of Azerbaijan. Please welcome him with applause.
Thank you very much. It's indeed a great pleasure to be here as the proud alumni of this university, Hafs University. It's also my great pleasure again to see distinguished professors, Chair and President of the Hankook University, President Kim, and Kim Young of National Institute of Languages, I think. And it's my also great pleasure, and I wish congratulations to my professor. He was my supervisor when I made a PhD in this university, Professor O. Let's get some pleasure. So, congratulations, and it's indeed my great pleasure to be here again. And I just wanted to briefly inform about Azerbaijani language and what we've been doing between Azerbaijan and Korea in terms of language exchange and cultural exchange. Azerbaijani language is widely spoken globally by roughly 50 million people, including the 10 million population of the Republic of Azerbaijan and ethnic and language minorities of Iran, Iraq, the Russian Federation, Ukraine, and some Western countries. Azerbaijani language belongs to the Oghuz Turkic groups of languages, which is also including Turkish, Turkmen, and Gagauz languages. After Azerbaijan regained its independence, a modified Latin script has been used to write Azerbaijani since 1992. Before that, Azerbaijanis used Arabic alphabet and modified Latin scripts in the 1929 and 1940, and also modified Cyrillic script 1940 to 1992. Throughout our history, Azerbaijani poets and writers introduced certain grammatical forms and structures identified as Azerbaijani. Dede Korkut Dastanı, which goes back to the 6th to 8th centuries, is considered one of the Azerbaijani literature's cornerstones. Widely known with another name of Kitab-ı Dede Korkut, it contains epic stories of Turkic August Turks, which sheds light into their pre-Islamic social lifestyle. Besides that, Azerbaijan historically introduced prominent writers and poets to the world literature, such as Nizami Gencevi in the 12th century, İmadaddin Nasimi in the 14th century, Shah Ismail Khatai in the 15th century, Fizuli in the 16th century, and Mullah Panah Wagif in the 18th century. Meanwhile, I have to mention that in accordance with the presidential order, 2021 was declared as the year of Nizami Gencevi in Azerbaijan, dedicated to the 880th anniversary of the great poet and thinker. This fact indeed shows the government's attention to the Azerbaijani language and Azerbaijani literature. The government of Azerbaijan is hosting local and international events dedicated to the philosophy and works of Nizami Gencevi that are still addressing the challenges and realities of the 21st century. In the 19th century, Azerbaijan literature was influenced by the Western literature, and modern schools and institutions were opened. Playwright and reformist Mirza Fathallah Akhundov was an important literary figure in the 19th century. The first Azerbaijani newspaper, Akinchi, was published in 1875 by Hasan Bey Zardabi. Yet others like Sabir, Jalil Mehmet Quluzadeh, Samet Vurgun, Hüseyin Cavid, and Bakhtiyar Vahabzadeh are considered influential writers in the 20th century. Shahriyar is the most well-known Azerbaijani poet, those who lived and wrote in Iran. I must acknowledge with great pleasure that in 2019, Embassy of Azerbaijan, also with Kyobo Desen Foundation and Eurasia Turkic Studies Institute, managed to publish the poems of Bakhtiyar Vahabzadeh in Korean language. The said book is the first ever Korean language poems book of an Azerbaijani poet. However, we will continue introducing more works of prominent Azerbaijani poets to the Korean people. The government of Azerbaijan, since its independence in 1991, paid utmost importance to the protection, efficiency, and development of Azerbaijani language. Several state programs were adopted, and state institutions were established for the purpose mentioned above, as well as for promoting Azerbaijani language globally and to cooperate with friendly countries like Republic of Korea on the exchange of language programs at the academic level and educate Azerbaijani nationalities living abroad. As for similarities between Azerbaijan and Korean languages, from a linguistic point of view, the language of the Korean and Turkic-speaking nations, including Azerbaijani, belong to the same Ural-Altay language family. First and foremost, these similarities can be observed in the grammatical structure of our languages. According to the researchers, the Korean and Turkic languages were separated 8,000 years ago. Here I must bring to your attention that the strategic role of Turkic-speaking nations in the Eurasian continent is becoming more visible. As an ambassador of the chairing country of the Turkic Council, with its official name, Cooperation Council of Turkic-Speaking Nations, I must inform you that the said council is playing an essential role in comprehensive cooperation among the member states, namely Turkey, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Recently, the March 31st summit of the Turkic Council has identified new priorities and perspectives for further advancing existing cooperation among the member states and other interested nations. Head of State of Turkmenistan attended the said summit first time, which indicates the intention of the said country to join the Turkic Council. Along with Turkmenistan, Turkic Council is turning into a new cooperation platform covering 4.7 million square kilometers of the Eurasian continent and more than 150 million people. In the said geography, Azerbaijan plays a crucial role as a country that connects the Republic of Turkey with the brotherly nations located in Central Asia. Strategically important transportation and communication lines connecting Turkic-speaking nations and Asia and Europe passes through Azerbaijan, and they will further highlight the strategic importance of my country in the Eurasian continent. The familiarity between Azerbaijan and Korea can be seen in language and cultural values and customs. Azerbaijani and Korean languages are sharing similar words. For example, the word Khan, used in the Shilla period to mean ruler, had also been used in Azerbaijani language, referring to the rulers with the title of Khan during the Khanates of period of Azerbaijani history. Respect for the elders is remarkably similar among our customs. Humility and simplicity are good qualities observed both in Azerbaijan and Korean peoples. There has been an awareness above the mentioned lingo-cultural similarities between two countries. Therefore, both sides have directed relentless efforts to develop cultural ties between two nations. In 2019 alone, more than 9,000 Korean citizens visited Azerbaijan, and we are expecting the above-mentioned number will be doubled in the years to come. During the last couple of years, with our embassy's support, specialized filming teams of Korea's KBS and EBS TV channels have visited Azerbaijan several times, preparing and airing good quality Azerbaijani programs that covered the cultural and historical monuments, tourist attractions, and so on. Azerbaijan-Korea relations in the field of education are constantly developing as well. There is a mutual interest in learning Azerbaijani in Korea and Korean in Azerbaijan. The faculties of Korean studies have been operating at the Azerbaijani University of Languages since 1994 and Baku State University since 2007. Moreover, Korean Center has been operating at Nakhchivan State University since 2011. As a result of cooperation in education, the Azerbaijani language, culture, and history have begun to be taught at the Hankuk University of Studies since 2008. Here I would like to use this opportunity to convey my high appreciation to HAFS and its leadership and the Korean government for their continued support encouraging Korean young generation to learn Azerbaijani along with its culture and history. Presently, there are 70 Azerbaijani students studying in various universities of the Korea, and it is pleasing to say that Azerbaijani students study in Korea with excellent grades. So, in the end, the exchange in the field of sports is commendable too. Taekwondo, which is the national sport of Korea, is very popular in Azerbaijan with the guidance of Korean Taekwondo trainers. And in conclusion, I would like to say that at the root of the friendship and cooperation relations that bind Azerbaijan and Korea today stands the close cultural similarities between our people. I am sure that the maximum use of this common culture and spiritual values of the Azerbaijani and Korean people will further enhance our bilateral relations in the future. I thank you for your attention.
Saulon, Your Excellency. Saulon, Your Excellency Teimro, thank you for your speech encouraging mutual relationship and illuminating our prosperous future. Now the third, I may invite Mr. Surinder Bhagat, Deputy Chief of Mission, Republic of India. He's my friend because I'm teaching Hindi. Welcome.
This is for previous and next button. This is laser point. This is next. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me this opportunity to present my views. I, on behalf of my ambassador, would like to thank HOOPS and NEED for all your encouragement and support. And before I start, I would like to place on record our special thanks to President of NEED, Young Gon Kim, who delivered very encouraging remarks at the international symposium which we organized at the Indian Embassy yesterday itself. Before I begin, I would like to say namaste, which is an Indian way of greetings, and I think it's quite relevant in the current COVID times, and it's a contactless way of greeting. I would also like to congratulate our colleagues at at Hooves and the CFL Center for organizing this very timely forum. It is indeed very useful because we are now going to enter into the second 5-year plan, as the President just mentioned. This is a broad outline of my presentation. I will cover some of the features of Hindi. I will talk about our cultural center, how it is promoting at the government level our ancient bonds and the living bridge of Buddhism and yoga. We all know the good work which the Critical Foreign Languages is doing in promoting Hindi. In fact, what is more interesting is the fact that Hindi, the teaching of Hindi in Korea started way back in 1972, even before formal diplomatic relations between the two countries were established. CFL also is engaged not only in developing educational content, but is also at the forefront of organizing proficiency tests in the Hindi language, and is also developing Korean massive open online course to facilitate the learning of foreign language for the Korean students. These are some of the universities where Department of Hindi is there, and Hooves, both its campuses in Yongin and Seoul offer Hindi languages in addition to Busan University of Foreign Studies. This slide is slightly unclear, but I can tell you that the yellow portion which you see is the areas where Hindi is widely spoken, and those which are contiguous to this yellow portion are the areas where which also speak Hindi, though it may not be the primary source of communication. But Hindi is widely spoken in India. It is also the third largest spoken language in the world. Now, talking about our cultural center, which is called Swami Vivekanand Cultural Center, SVCC, it is engaged in imparting Indian language, both Sanskrit and Hindi, and it is also the nodal point for cultural exchanges between the two countries. It is also, it offers regular classes, special programs, including exhibition, cultural programs, lectures, and film screenings from time to time. And it also offers Hindi language scholarship, which is quite popular among Korean students. And I came to know that our chair also has availed this scholarship a few years ago. Coming to the government, and this is another interesting slide. The picture which you see on the top right side is about virtual launch of a Buddha statue. In fact, as I speak here, there is an event which is going on in the Indian Cultural Center, whereby a statue of Lord Buddha is being handed over to the Tongdosa temples, for which monks from Tongdosa have come to the embassy, and also a few members of the National Assembly are also there at the Cultural Center. So this talks about this event, which will be organized on May 16th, and this is about the installation of that statue of Lord Buddha, which has come from India, and on May 16th it will be installed at Tongdosa Temple. And coinciding with this, we are also going to have a digital exhibition which is curated by the National Museum of India in New Delhi. So those of you who are free, please feel free to join us. This is all going to be live streamed on the social media handles of our cultural center. Now, as a member of National Assembly just alluded a few minutes ago, that the government of India has decided to introduce Korean as the new foreign language at the secondary level. This is definitely going to give a major boost to the learning of Korean language in India also. The fact that we have a special strategic partnership which was signed in 2015 again has given a lot of impetus to our relations in all fields, be it political, economy, commerce, security, culture. And this is, again, has given a lot of push to our cultural relations. We have, in terms of our foreign policy, we have somewhat similar objectives. Act East policy of India has a lot of overlappings with the new Southern policy of ROK. We also have a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, which was signed in 2010, and our trade has gone up since then. Our bilateral trade as of date stands at around $20 billion, though it has taken a hit last year due to COVID, but I'm sure this year it will again pick up. Now, this is a tweet by President Moon in which he has appreciated the government of India's decision to introduce Korean as the second foreign language elective. A picture speaks 1,000 words, and I think this is what it says. Hyundai, this is the bottom left side picture which you see is about Hyundai Motors, which has a huge plant in south of India in Chennai, where it is producing vehicles which caters not only to the Indian market but also to other markets in Asia, Africa, and Middle East. Now, talking about our ancient bonds, and this is my favorite slide, this talks about the story of a young Indian princess called Suriratna who visited Korea and married the king Kim Suro in 48 AD, and then started what is known as the Karak dynasty. And the Kim, as you know, is a very common surname, and it is believed that Kim Suro is the father of this Kim clan. The Gimhae Kims, in fact, are closely associated with this, and they have a very strong emotional connect with India. They trace their ancient genealogical links with India, and they are very proud of this lineage. In fact, they have established a sister city relationship with Ayodhya, from where the queen had come years ago. The government of India has decided to construct a memorial for this Indian princess at Ayodhya, for which a groundbreaking ceremony was held in November 2018, for which the First Lady had visited India in November 2018. And here you can see her picture beautifully draped in the Indian sari. Yeah, this is again a very important slide. Buddhism, as you know, is again a very important living bridge between the two countries. Korean monks fully understood the importance of India as the birthplace of their Sakya Muni Buddha. And in fact, Buddhism, it is believed, took roots in Korea in the second half of the 4th century. And it is believed that 3 monks from the three kingdoms named Ado in Silla, Sundo in Goryeo, and Maranta in Baekje were the earlier pioneers. Similarly, the journeys of Haichu, a young Korean monk who visited India and wrote extensively about various places of Buddhist interest in India, is also throws deep insights on Buddhism in India. Now, these are some of the interesting temples which are dedicated to Buddhism. Tongdosa temple is where we are going to have a ceremony on May 16th of 2 weeks from now. Bulgupsa temple is in Jeollanam-do province, is the oldest temple. The one you see, the colorful temple in Busan, is again a very interesting site to see, and a very interesting place to visit also. Now, yoga is a very, very popular in Korea. And as you know, yoga is essentially a spiritual discipline. It symbolizes the unity of mind and body, and especially in the current times of COVID, I think it is also good to practice it, as it is known to boost immunity and offers relief from various lifestyle diseases. Yeah. And our cultural center also offers yoga classes, and these pictures you see are basically from pre-COVID times. Now all the activities are being organized through virtual means. Now, coming to my last slide, I would like to emphasize on some of the personalities which have a very strong cultural connect with India, with Korea. And first is our national poet, who is a Nobel laureate, Rabindranath Tagore, who is also chief cultural link between the two countries. In fact, Rabindranath Tagore wrote a poem which became a source of inspiration in Korea way back in 1929, which was titled as Lamp of the East. And it spoke about Korea's glorious past and its promising bright future, which galvanized Korean nationalism and still remain an inspiration in the hearts and minds of every Korean. Similarly, Mahatma Gandhi, an apostle of peace and nonviolence, is again highly revered in Korea. Each generation of leadership, Korean leadership, have taken inspiration from him. Former President Kim Dae-jung has compared Gandhiji to Jesus Christ, as they both are characterized by unselfish love of their neighbor, total sacrifice. In fact, the current President Moon Jae-in has also described Gandhiji's teachings as something which serves as a moral compass for peace on the Korean Peninsula. And Indian contribution during the Korean War is also something which is very well documented. India is one of the 21 countries who participated, and Indian Medical Unit, the 60th Parachute Field Ambulance commanded by Colonel Rangarajan participated. And in fact, during the course of the war, they were able to treat 222,000 soldiers and civilians alike, for which they received a lot of commendation. This, I think, I'll come to the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you all for your patient listening. Thank you.
Mr. Surinder. Thank you for your detailed explanation, especially in the given time. Now, I may invite Mr. Jokir Saidov, Deputy Chief of Mission, Republic of Uzbekistan.
Distinguished Mr. Kim In-chul, President of Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, Dr. Oh Jong-jin, Director of Critical Foreign Languages Center, dear Professor Che Jong-chan, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, annyeonghaseyo, good afternoon. First of all, let me to extend my sincere appreciation to HUFS for inviting us to participate today's forum. Prior to dwelling on the main subject of today's discussion, I would like to say a couple of words about the importance of education in the contemporary world, where our global community is facing a number of serious challenges, such as economic inequality, underdevelopment, environmental problems, poverty elevation, and healthcare issues, and so on. In addressing them successfully, nowadays a special importance requires the training of more competitive and creative human resources. Nurturing such human resources is not an easy task. A great responsibility lies on the shoulders of universities and other educational institutions worldwide. The Republic of Korea, for a quite long time, has been contributing to this course. Thanks to the generous support of the government of Korea, many students from developing countries are given an opportunity to study in this magnificent country and get world-class education in its finest universities. In this regard, I would like to note with satisfaction that Hankuk University of Foreign Studies is among such educational centers that gives its graduates attendant knowledge in the areas of their expertise, which serves them as a solid foundation in their future professional career. Since its establishment, HUFS has in the true sense become a globalized educational center for students across the world, study to get their bachelor, master's, and PhD degrees. I am very pleased to know that among them are representatives of my country, Uzbekistan. I often visit Hankuk University on various commemorations. Every time of my coming here, I see new changes. Modern facilities are being constructed, new programs are being developed, innovative ideas are being introduced. One of the examples of such innovative ideas of the creation of the Center for Critical Foreign Languages Education. I have no doubt that this center will play an important role in providing various and specialized educational opportunities to people who wish to learn critical foreign languages in Korea. Now, I would like to switch to the main topic of today's discussion, to introduce Uzbek language and its attractiveness. Uzbek, one of the oldest and richest languages in the world, is a symbol of national identity and independence, a grand spiritual value. The history of Uzbek, itself part of the large Turkish languages, is inextricably linked with the century-old narration, dreams, aspirations, sorrows, and losses, achievements and victories of our people. It was very mother tongue that was the principal factor for our ancestors in national self-identification. It is very language did they create the greatest examples of culture, scientific discoveries, and artistic masterpieces. As a significant date, we first of all recall the 21st of October 1989, when the law on the state language was adopted. I should note that adoption of this law was Uzbekistan's first decisive step towards independence and state sovereignty, turning into the clear manifestation of desire our people to determine their own destiny. 2 years later, it was in our native language that the state independence of Uzbekistan was proclaimed. The creation of the basic law, the constitution of the country in Uzbek further increased its credibility. Over the past years, the Uzbek language has become a spiritual bridge for representatives of more than 100 ethnic and sub-ethnic groups living in Uzbekistan, which serves to ensure peace and harmony in our society. 5 centuries ago, with the immortal works, the great Alisher Navai made a colossal contribution to the consolidation of this sacred bridge. We all well understand that native language is a robust foundation of nation's spiritual world. The prominent Uzbek enlightener Abdullah Avloni noted that the life of any nation is reflected in its national language and literature, like in a mirror. During independence years, a great deal of work has been undertaken to implement the provisions of law on the state language. In this respect, one fact is worthy of your attention. Given that there are more than 7,000 languages in the world, while only 200 of them are state or official, it becomes obvious how important this law is in the life of our people. Eventually, another important law was adopted, namely on the introduction of Uzbek alphabet basis on the Latin script. Currently, Uzbek is actively used as the state language in political, social, economic, cultural, spiritual spheres. It sounds from the international standards. The fact that almost 50 million people speak Uzbek in the world indicates that it's becoming one of the most widely spoken languages in the world. Today, the Uzbekistan language is studied in almost 60 universities and more than 100 schools in countries such as the US, UK, Germany, France, Sweden, Russia, Ukraine, China, Japan, South Korea, India, Turkey, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Kyrgyzstan. The number of foreign scholars and students conducting academic research in the field of Uzbek language and literature has been growing from one year to another. The government of Uzbekistan supports the creation of clubs, Friends of Uzbek language, at the embassies and other diplomatic missions of our country abroad. In 2019, in accordance with the presidential decree, the 21st of October was declared as the Day of Uzbek language. As you may know, Uzbekistan has become a full-fledged member of the Cooperation Council of Turkish-speaking states. This will serve not only enhance economic interaction, but also boost the status of Turkish languages, including Uzbek, at the international level. I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Korean government for the respect and attention paid to the Uzbek language in the country. I would like to express special gratitude for those Korean friends who study Uzbek and actively use it in their everyday life. Now, I would like to allocate some time to cultural and language exchanges between our countries. For many centuries, our homeland has been at the center of interaction of great civilizations and cultures. From time immemorial, representatives of many ethnic groups live there side by side with our people in peace and harmony. A nation that reveres its mother tongue, venerates the languages of other nations and ethnicities. Today, thanks to the implementation of the policy of tolerance, representatives of more than 130 ethnic groups living in Uzbekistan as a single family are creating the necessary conditions for the development of their native language, culture, customs, and traditions. This is precisely what the activities of about 140 national cultural centers in Tashkent and in regions are aimed at. Educational institutions and mass media in our country operate along with Uzbek in Karakalpak, Russian, Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Tajik, and Turkmen. The international community recognizes this is an experience worth learning. The continuation of these traditions is suggested by the fact that today, in the educational institutions of my country, young people deeply study foreign languages, including Korean, English, Russian, German, French, Spanish, Italian, Arabic, Farsi, Turkish, Chinese, Japanese, Hindu, and Urdu. I would like to note with satisfaction that relations between Uzbekistan and Korea are developing dynamically in the sphere of education and culture. The universities of our country are cooperating with more than 30 scientific research institutions of South Korea. Centers of Korean language and culture are opened in a number of educational institutions. Additionally, the Korean language is taught at the Uzbek State University of World Languages, the Tashkent State Institution of Oriental Studies, and the Samarkand State Institution for Foreign Languages. The Seoul Park in Tashkent, effectively functioning since 2014, the Korean House of Culture and Arts, which was built in Tashkent with the support of government of Korea, as well as renaming one of the streets of Tashkent in honor of Seoul, are vivid examples of cooperation in this field. The Korean diaspora in Uzbekistan, one of the largest in the world, plays an important role in strengthening friendly relations between our two countries. In 2017, the Korean diaspora celebrated the 18th anniversary of their residing on the hospitable land of Uzbekistan that became their second homeland, motherland. Uzbekistan strives for further developing and strengthening mutually beneficial relations of special strategic partnership with the Republic of Korea that serves the interests of two countries and their people. In conclusion, I would like once again to thank the HUFS for organizing this timely event and hope would contribute for further expanding and strengthening strategic and cooperative relations between the foreign states and Korea in the interests of their people. I would like also taking this opportunity to wish all participants of today's forum robust health, prosperity, well-being, and ever success in your endeavors. Thank you very much.
시지가 라맛 감사합니다. Thank you for your presentation and the concern for mutual relationship. Now, the fifth, I may invite Mr. Aslan Naska, Deputy Chief of Mission, Republic of Kazakhstan.
안녕하십니까, 여러분. Dear President In Chul Kim, dear distinguished participant colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank you for your having this important event despite the challenges brought with the COVID-19. Today we have many presentations regarding to our languages. I just fully agree with all of the talking about Turkish languages and Kazakh languages. So, first of all, I would like to stop some remarks about the Kazakhstan. Today, Kazakhstan is before being a reliable, responsible subject of the world policy, continuously to the attract of the attention of the world community as a progressive of dynamic development economy. Together with economic and political achievements, we are threatening our cultural relation. In April 2019, during the state visit of the President Moon Jae-in to Kazakhstan, and agreement with reached to expect exchange in cultural and humanitarian shape. In this regard, by the 13th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations, the parties agreed to the designate 2022 in the year of culture exchange and hold of various commemorable events. With this, I would like to take a step of to thank the host of the today events, Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, to support of promoting to the Kazakh languages with all of the sphere. There are numbers of the successful graduates for the Hoops University who is working today in my country. I know like around year 1,800 students from Kazakhstan just studying in Korea, and around 100 students from Korea to come in my country. Today, Kazakhstan is we can say like 2 or 3 languages in Kazakhstan strongly support in my country. And Kazakh languages, most of the coming from the Altayan group, and like we have many similar words like in Korean languages, like su, same like in my country. Like water, it means su. In my languages, the same like Korean languages. So I will be briefly just to take some thank you for the Korean Languages University, and by this I would like to extend great hope that Kazakh language will be included into the list of next year critical foreign languages in Hankuk University. Thank you very much.
수직의 우일 캐노라멧, Mr. Now we are arriving the last speaker. I may introduce Mr. Gogot Srarut from the Republic of Indonesia.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gogot Swarwoto. I'm the Education Attaché at the Indonesian Embassy in Seoul. First of all, I'd like to send a great appreciation from our ambassador, and also like to send all of the great opportunity to be invited at the Critical Foreign Language in Hof. Excellencies, Ambassador, President Hoof, and all of the participants, and also the student. First of all, I'd like to share with you about Indonesia. Some of you have heard about Indonesia, but looking at the map, you will see that Indonesia has 17,000 islands. Each island divided by ocean. We have 270 million population, a lot of religion, and most interestingly, we have 350 different languages. But we still have one Indonesian language as a national language. So this is on social diversity. About the biodiversity, you can see we have 25,000 species, which is flowering plants, 10% of the total flowers in the world. We have about 1,500. So if you come to Indonesia one time, you will see 1,500 birds. It's a big number. We have 515 mammals, and also 270 amphibian, and also 20% of fish population. This is in terms of biodiversity and socio-diversity. The third reason that we are happy to be invited in this forum is because we are emerging countries. In many studies and also recommendation from a lot of experts in economy, by 2045, Indonesia will be the 5th largest country with a GDP of $29,300 US. But to achieve of this situation, to be in the 5th great country, we have a lot of prerequisites that we have to fulfill. In order to fulfill all of these requisites, we need the collaboration that's being opened by the HOOF to invite us to join this very important network of critical foreign language. So thank you again for the HOOF for inviting Indonesia in this forum. And that Korea is a very strategic and important partners of the country since the signing of IKCEPA by our ministries on the 18th December last year, the same day on Friday. So the signature of the signing of the IKCEPA as the sign of a very strong relation in terms of trade and investment. So in this regard, Korea has become the 3rd largest investor in Indonesia in 2021. So the last quarter, the first quarter of 2021, after Singapore and then US. So we have recorded in the first quarter, we have 1,220 projects being invested in Indonesia. So if one project being taken care by 10, so we will have we need at least 12,000 Korean to come to Indonesia to manage this project. So based on our record, last year we have about 9,400 Korean working in Indonesia. So this is a big opportunity, and we are very happy to support and to offer the BIPA as a foreign language. So what we have characterized Korea in Indonesia as investment and trade partners. Because for this data, we said that Singapore, Korea, China, Japan become the investment and trade partners in Indonesian language. So for that reason, I'm here. I have been here for 2 months basically as an education attaché from Indonesia. So our role, especially facilitating Indonesian as a foreign language, we will prepare. We are already. We have standardized material and evaluation and assessment to learn about Indonesian language, Indonesian as a foreign language. We also have facilitating conference, workshop, for the teacher of BIPA. We're conducting activities for the Korean and also organizing performance and exhibition. So we are very glad we are very happy to be in here because in Hankook University of Foreign Studies, Indonesian language has been offered since 56 years ago. So it's a lot older than me, So I appreciate for the studies in HUF. So we have spread the BIPA all over the country. So about 31 countries being receptive for our BIPA, and we hope this year we will open in Korea. So hopefully about 1,000, because now we already have about 3 universities offering Indonesian language in Korea. So hopefully by opening BIPA, will be more and more Korean students like to study Indonesian as a foreign language. We offer a lot of activities also for the foreigner when they learn about BIPA. We have competition, we have contests, we have all of this kind of scientific meeting. And last, we have also organized a lot of event in Korea. So lately about last week, last week I also attended KIMA, Korea Indonesia Management Advancement. So we invited chairman, director, and all of the CEO of the businessmen to learn about Indonesian culture, Indonesian rules, social, and also how to do business in Indonesia. So this is our ambassador giving speech in that occasion. Our ambassador also being invited at the K-pop show 2 weeks ago. And our 5th president giving speech here in Korea, Indonesian embassy, about introducing a batik. So last we have also have gamelan, like Indonesian culture, and also we have Indonesian investment opportunity speech by Federation of Korean Industry. So again, thank you very much for Hankook University of Foreign Studies for inviting Indonesia, and our great appreciation to all of the president of HUF and also the director, Mr. Chong Jin-ho. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody.
Mr. Gogot, terima kasih. Now, as you see, the timetable tells us we should finish 3:30, but already passed. So, but we have another order, the Q&A. So I may suggest that only one question will be taken. So if you have any question, especially student, please. Whoever wants to ask question, the first person will be permitted.
I would like to ask a question to Your Excellency Romani Kananurak, Ambassador of Thailand to South Korea. Before asking question, I would like to say that it is a great honor to meet you with Your Excellencies today. I have been doing a tandem program with Thai friends in Thailand. Thanks to social networking service, we could celebrate Songkran, the Thai New Year's Day, together. And as for how I began to learn the Thai language, it was via YouTube. Like me, many people are learning and getting to know other cultures, including languages, through new media more than before. So I think improving the accessibility of learning language through new media or SNS could be quite efficient. So, Your Excellency, what do you think about using new media or SNS as a learning tool or method?
May I answer the question?
Hello. Thank you very much for your question. I'm very pleased to hear that you have been able to keep in touch with your friend to social media. To answer your question, I think that social media is a powerful tool because of its accessibility. Is wide reach and is interactive nature. And you can meet and talk and share information with your friend and many people at the same time without having to be at the same place. So I would like to encourage the use of SNS to promote foreign language learning. And I think this way of learning can complement study in classroom. And I think it will, you can use available, what we have is available video clips that teach you how to speak Thai in different social and cultural contexts. This would be very useful. And for the Thai Embassy this year, we're going to organize a Thai festival online. It will showcase contemporary Thai culture through the broadcasting of the live performances by Korean and Thai music artists, and also a showcase of our travel destination and Thai cooking. Thank you once again for your question. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your kind explanation. Now, I may call it the first round of the session. Now, we may have a coffee break for 10 minutes, and then thank you very much for all the attendees.
Thank you. Thank you for the chairperson and other distinguished speakers for their presentation. Now we have a coffee break for 10 minutes. Enjoy yourself. The coffee and teas are prepared outside the venue. Please. Distinguished guests, the coffee break time is finished for 10 minutes. So please be seated. The second session will start soon. In order to prevent COVID-19, we would like to kindly remind you again, this forum will be conducted in compliance with the second step of social distancing guidelines. Please make sure to wear a mask throughout the session. The second session will now begin. Professor Yoon Sung-man, Vice President of Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, will chair the second session. In this session, we will have 6 presentations from the distinguished ambassadors from Republic of Poland, Republic of Portugal, Federative Republic of Brazil, Sultanate of Oman, and Republic of Kenya, and Republic of Turkey. Yes, the chairperson is already prepared, so the first speakers, please, up to the stage.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, dear students, my name is Sung-man Yoon, Vice President of Seoul campus at HOPS. I'm very happy and honored to chair this second session of the first Ambassador Forum of CFL, organized by CFL Institute at HOPS. We are, compared to time schedule, 20 minutes late. It's not a big problem in my view, but I would like to cordially invite 6 speakers for this afternoon to respect your speaking time at least 10 minutes, or at maximum 10 minutes. This afternoon session, I think will deal with some aspects of strategic assets, as already emphasized in opening session by several speakers. From I think Korean point of view, CFL naturally represent a very important strategic value, especially for national interest and security. I think 6 speakers from now on will deal with these aspects of CFL from point of view of each language and each country. Our first speaker is His Excellency Manuel Antonio Gonçalves de Jesus. I hope my pronunciation is correct. Ambassador of Portugal to Korea. Your Excellency, please come to the floor. Boa tarde.
Boa tarde. Yes, the pronunciation is correct. Yes, I would like to salute everybody, in particular with the president of the Hankuk University, Kim In-Chu, also the president of the Institute for Foreign Language, for the president of the Institute for National Education, Mr. Kim Yong-Gon, and the director for Center for Critical Foreign Language, Mr. Oh Chang-Jin. And also, of course, our chair today in this session, Professor Yong-Suk Man. Before I was thinking about what you're expecting from me today, inviting to participate in this UF's Hankuk University of Foreign Studies Critical Foreign Language Ambassador Forum. Of course, I believe you expect from me that I will present, although briefly, the situation of the Portuguese language in the world. I will try to do that. But first, I was thinking that what is for me the language, what is the concept of language? And I was thinking about a Portuguese writer, Portuguese poet, quite well known, especially for those that study Portuguese, Fernando Pessoa, that said that a lingua è mia patria. Translating to English, it will be that the language is my homeland. Of course, this is the first. The language is the way you communicate first with our family, then with our friends, then with our countrymen, then with the world. Fortunately, in the case of Portuguese, we can communicate far as to the world, because nowadays Portuguese is spoken so many countries, so many places in the world, that we belong to quite large homeland. But first, let me now step back in the history for a moment. The Portuguese language reached its peak as a lingua franca in the 16th century, influencing many local languages from Western Africa to Malacca and Japan, as well in Korea. But because of the Portuguese population size and the equally short period of hard power experienced by Portugal globally, using the terminology of Joseph Knight, its worldly aspirations were short-lived. 5 centuries later, modern times dictate the emergence of a completely different reality, as Portuguese-speaking countries represent a demographically important community with economic significance and a vast potential for growth. As an international language of communication, Portuguese has a privileged standing, recognized as one of the 6 most widely spoken languages in the world and the most used in the Southern Hemisphere. It is one of the 3 fastest growing languages worldwide, with its speakers expected to double over the course of the century. Portuguese is indeed the language shared by many people and countries, a fact that has helped and still helps to build what you see. Anyway, I don't have one pager of my speech, but I'll go the same. It is a language shared by many people and countries, a fact that has helped and still helps to build and to construct many homelands that I mentioned before. Portuguese is, of course, nowadays, Portuguese is a language of a community of Portuguese, community of the Portuguese-speaking language that include quite many countries, 9 countries at least, and that has 18 countries as observers, although they don't have the official language as the Portuguese. According to the projections of the United Nations, in 2050, the Portuguese speakers in the country will reach more than 300 million. Actually, in fact, the number of speakers don't go further than 250 million. Of course, Brazil is the one that has most of the speakers with more than 200 million. But then there is a shift towards a different situation. In fact, this shift goes to Africa, where in the near future there will be most of the speaking countries will be located there. In particular, Angola and Mozambique. So probably by 2010, if you can project the so far distance, Angola may take the lead with more than 160 million of speakers, close to Brazil, that meanwhile stopped the growth of the population. And at the same time, Portugal will have a smaller population. So in the next three decades, Brazil, now accounting for more than 3/4 of the total of the population of Portuguese speakers, will comprise less than 3/5. So the Portuguese language does mainly assess itself through the number of the mother tongue speakers. Portuguese-speaking countries' growth and internet presence, the cultural sector, in particular, original works translated from other languages, and more recently, science, with a strong increase in field-related article and magazine publication. It should also be noted that Portuguese is a language with multiple varieties. This can be seen, for example, in Angola, where it is used both predominantly in a monolingual context as a mother tongue for socializing and integration, and in the multilingual context, either alternatively or cumulatively as mother tongue for part of the population. In Mozambique, for instance, it is used for communication and understanding between speakers and social mother tongues. So in Guinea-Bissau, for instance, Portuguese are not the mother tongue, but it is the language used in formal education, in the administrations, and in the public space. If you come now to Asia, for instance, Timor-Leste, it is used in written language, while, for instance, back to Africa, to the Atlantic, Cabo Verde in Cabo Verde it is the national language. Also, it should be noted Portuguese is part of this vast community of Latin language users, Spanish, French, Italian, Romanian, in which mutual understanding has a strong potential for growth. This closeness, in particular to Spanish, is undergoing strong development in Latin America as well as in other parts of the world. You must say that after Central Portuguese has come to sound very different from its Castilian neighbor. The strange result is that nowadays Portuguese, Brazilians, Angolans, and other Portuguese speakers can still understand spoken Spanish, while most of the Spanish speakers consider Portuguese quite impenetrable, or at least difficult to follow in listening mode. Something that differs when reading, making it usually to understand. Easier to understand. Okay. Anyway, this is an advantage for those who speak or study Portuguese. This linguistic proximity is also associated with cultural proximity, facilitating intercommunication and easing the exchange of ideas, services, and goods in different geographical spaces. In conclusion, reinforcing Portuguese language teaching is considered a necessity in light of its ranking in importance amongst the main language of the world and its growing demand, as well as an opportunity for public and private entities devoted to its teaching. So in this context, let me thank Hanguk University for the work that has been done for this institution teaching Portuguese after so many years, and from where so many students learn Portuguese. And to those teachers and students, let me congratulate them for their work. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, about your interesting presentation concerning status and role of Portuguese languages as one of 6 most widely spoken languages in the world. In fact, it's more than French-speaking people, my major. Well, our second speaker is His Excellency Piotr Ostaszewski, Ambassador of Poland to Korea. Dzień dobry, Your Excellency. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Dear Mr. Inchul Kim, President of Hankook University, Yonggung Kim, President of NIIED, Jean Park, Member of 21st National Assembly, Doug Kang, Member of 21st National Assembly, Chongjin Oh, Director, Hoof Center for Critical Foreign Languages Education, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Being here at Hoofs University, and together with all the staff of the Polish language department, I think that the question of learning foreign languages speaks for itself. When the Polish language department was set up in 1987 by Professor Chong Byuk-kwon, the global requirement for all of us students, professors, etc., was English. As well in Europe, where there were only a very few people who could speak any Asian or African language and just learn them for fun. Let me stop for a while and think about the decision made up in 1987 on studying and learning Polish language here at Hoofs. Here in Korea, the country, Poland, did not even have diplomatic relations at that time. Risk? Undoubtedly. Polish is rare, and needless to say, difficult. Passion? No doubts at all. But, and that should be emphasized as well, anticipation of global trends. And the reality gave a very quick answer. Poland set up diplomatic relations with Korea on November 1st, 1989, just only 2 years after. I do not personally know how it is to teach Polish language Korean students, since both languages are rare, plenty of exceptions, and with very sophisticated grammar. But on the other hand, this has always been one of the greatest challenges for both professors and students. The results, outstanding. How it was possible? Of course, perfect program of studies, but, and we must remember about it, devotion and self-perfection. Professor, tutor, or teacher cooperates with the students, but the student must learn and study himself as well, and probably more. This is the key to success of a Polish language department at Hofstra University. Language is a code, specific tool of communication which always evolves, mainly from the bottom, not from the top. Anyway, no matter how to treat it, the transmission should be based on information, which means you can speak 100 of languages, but always remember you have to have something to say. Language is an ambassador of a country. Language is a culture. Language is a tool. And finally speaking, foreign language means, to quote Johann Wolfgang Goethe, as many languages you know, so many times you're a human being. And as usual, he was not wrong. Therefore, when looking at the Polish language department faculty, Professor Chon Sung-un, Professor Kim Yong-dong, Professor Kim Jong-sung, and Professor Haidu Gavron, I should ask myself how many people really I do see. And 960 graduates and 151 currently studying, very impressive numbers. Good teaching is to climb from level to level, and finally, to teach students not only to speak, but to think in foreign language, and if I may say so, to dream in it. As I mentioned before, Polish is not easy, but very much the same might be said about the Korean language. Very important is an interaction between both languages. Polish has become more and more popular in Korea, but Korean in Poland as well. Students' exchange programs are not only inscribed within institutional framework. Brushing up the language and making new friendships paves the way toward different life, more colorful and more interesting, with wider horizons and opportunities for the future. But look at it from a very practical point of view. Since Poland attracts so many Korean investors, it paves the way for Polish-speaking Korean interpreters who might assist their Korean superiors in their daily duties. On the other hand, one of the biggest satisfaction gives the translation of literature. This is the most wonderful trip in the heart of the language and culture. George Kennan, the American policymaker, said that if you really want to know the mentality of the nation, you have to read literature. In 2018 at Hofstra, there was a meeting of 4 Polish language departments from Korea, Japan, China, and Vietnam. The keynote speakers were professors who translated Lalka, the doll, which was written by our writer Bolesław Prus. And all of them read its first passage in their mother tongues. It was not a competition, but a wide spectrum how to translate and understand the text and its spirit, and even times it was written in. On the other hand, I should mention Korean language in Poland. Obviously, Korean language departments can be found in the biggest universities in Warsaw, Krakow, or Poznań. What makes Korean so popular? Quite the same expectations. I think, like in the case of learning Polish language. However, my language absorbs more and more Korean words like kimchi or K-pop. Since kimchi cannot be translated literally as a pickled cabbage, it got into a language as it stands for itself. Everybody knows that what is kimchi without additional explanations. K-pop is a style, but the letter K is recognizable as Korean and pop as pop culture. Hardly anyone probably can associate the word pop culture with Andy Warhol. Here is a very good example how languages affect each other. Finally, when looking at the faculty members of the Polish language department here at Hofstra University, I cannot resist the impression that this is the beating heart of Poland, of my country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. You remind us historic of Department of Polish Language and its current situation, unique in Korea, and some aspects of developing cooperation between two countries. Thank you. Now I'm pleased to invite His Excellency Zakaria El Sadi, Ambassador of Sultanate of Oman to Korea. Your Excellency, Assalamu alaikum.
This is for next button.
Assalamu alaikum. 안녕하세요. In the beginning, I would like to thank the Hankook University for organizing the Ambassador Forum, Cfl Ambassador Forum, and I would like to thank the committee for the excellent job in organizing this forum. Also, I would like to welcome Mr. Kim In-cho, President of Hankook University, and Mr. Yon Sok-man, Vice President of Hankook University, and Kim Yong-go, President of National Institute for International Education, and Mr. Oh Chung-jin, Director of Critical Foreign Language Center at Hankook University. Also, I would like to welcome the faculty and the student of Hankook University. My presentation today, it's about Arabic language and culture. As you know, Arabic language is one of the oldest languages existed in the world. It's a Semitic language, and it's emerged between 1st and 4th century CE, and it started in the Arabian Peninsula. The importance of Arabic language. I will talk only about 4 reasons why Arabic language is important in the world today. The first reason, Arabic language is the 5th most widely spoken language in the world, after the English, Mandarin, Hindi, and Spanish. There are more than 293 million native speakers and more than 422 million the total speaker of Arabic around the world. Arabic is the official language of 22 countries which are members of Arab League. Also, Chad and Eritrea in Africa consider Arabic as their official language. Arabic is widely spoken in Middle East countries such as Iran, Turkey, Pakistan, also in Mali in Africa, and in Zanzibar in Tanzania. Arabic is the 6th official language of the United Nations. In 1973, 18th of December, General Assembly of United Nations declared Arabic as one of their official languages, and UNESCO declare the 18th of December of each year as the Arabic Day. Arabic is the language of the Quran, the holy book of Muslim. Quran is revealed by Arabic language, and there's more than 1.8 million Muslims around the world speak at least some basic Arabic to practice their daily spiritual. The influence of Arabic on other language. From the 7th century to the 15th century, Arabic language was the dominant language in the world, and was the language of science and knowledge. And for this reason, there's a lot of language in the world borrow a lot of words from Arabic, like in Iranian Farsi language, Turkish, and also Maltese language is one of Semitic language. 70% of the language is from Arabic words. 4,000 words in Spanish language is borrowed from Arabic because of the presence of Arab in Andalusia and Andalus, in Spain and Portuguese, and in Portuguese less words. And there's more than 10,000 words in English which is stem from Arabic language. And here I list few words which we think it's an English word, like alcohol, algebra, sugar, coffee, cotton, chemistry, lemon, cave, and ghazal. All these are Arabic words, and we think it's an English word. And camera is an Arabic word from qimra. Qimra is mean the small dark place, and the camera is invented by Arabic scholar. He's a mathematician and a scientist, Al-Hassan ibn Haytham, and he studies the he studied the optics, and he was the father of known as the father of the optics. He studied the reflection of the light, so he invented the basis of the camera. Diglossia in Arabic. Arabic language is unique. We speak Arabic in different types. The perfect type of Arabic is the classic Arabic, and which is the language of the Quran, the holy book of Muslim. And then Al-Fusha. Al-Fusha is used in the media and books, newspaper, and magazine. Al-Ammiya, the dialect in Arabic, and Al-Ammiya is different from one country to another country. And even in one country, you can distinguish between more than one Ammiya or dialect. However, we can distinguish between 4 dialects in Arab words or in Arab countries. The first one, which is in GCC country, Yemen and Iraq, they are similar. And the second one in Egypt and Sudan. The third one, which is in Levant, Bilad al-Sham, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine. The fourth Ammiya, which is in North Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Libya, and Mauritania. Arabic alphabet. Arabic alphabet contains 28 letters, and we write Arabic from right to left. However, Arabic numbers is written from left to right. Most of Arabic letters can be written in 4 different ways. Like, for example, here the letter ba. We can write it, if it's in the beginning, will be, there's no lighter here. So if it's in the beginning, will be like this. It will be in the middle of the letter of the word, will be like this. And if it be in the end, it will be like this. And if it be isolated, it will be written like this. Evolution of Arabic writing. In early 7th century, Arabic writing has no dots. And with the spread of Islam, many nations embrace Islam, and when they start to read Arabic and the Holy Quran, they make a lot of mistakes. So Abu al-Aswad al-Du'ali, he's an Arabic scholar, he invented the dots for the Arabic. And in the 8th century, an Omani scholar named Al-Khalil ibn Ahmed al-Farahidi, he born in Oman and studied in Iraq. He invented the Tashkil and Harakat system. The main purpose of Harakat and Tashkil system is to provide phonetic guide and help with the correct pronunciation. Here I will come. So this dot, Abu al-Aswad al-Du'ali invented this dot for Arab and Hiria and Pirlo Noon. And Khalil bin Ahmed al-Farahidi, he invented the Tashkil al-Fatha wal-Dhamma wal-Kasra wal-Sukun. Okay. And now we don't use tashkil in the newspaper and magazine. In the normal, we don't use. Just we use it only in the in a holy book of Muslim, the Quran, and poetry material, and material for teaching the children how to speak Arabic. Here, there are two photos. This one is written in the 7th century. If we see it, there's no dots on it and no tashkil. This letter is written from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the kings of Oman to embrace Islam. And this one is the Surah Al-Fatiha, the first chapter of Quran. So we can see the difference between how the Arabic writing is evolved throughout the history. Arabic calligraphy. Arabic calligraphy is the artist's practice of handwriting based on Arabic alphabet. And there are a variety of Arabic calligraphy: Ruq'ah, Nasakh, Diwani, Kufi, Farisi. And Kufi is the oldest form of Arabic script. Nasakh is commonly used to write the Quran, books, magazine, and a newspaper. Why we learn Arabic language? This is for the Hancock student, why you should learn Arabic. I listed only 4 reasons why we learn Arabic. The first reason is the Arabic language is the language of Quran. So to understand Islam more and to understand the Hadith, you have to learn Arabic. And if you know Arabic, that means you can communicate with more than 1.8 billion persons around the world. The second thing, if you know Arabic, it's easy to travel to 22 countries who their Arabic language are the official language. Besides some country in the Middle East they have many people who speak Arabic. The third reason is the economic reason. Arabic country, they're doing GDP by $2.5 trillion. And this has created a lot of opportunity for people Korean people to do business and in the Arab world, knowing that the economic relation between a member of Arab League and Korea is very, very strong. It's reached more than 117 billion in trade between Korea and Arab country in 2012, and now with the decrease of the oil price is reached below 100 billion. The fourth reason, if you know Arabic, it's easy to learn other language like Farsi, Turkish, Urdu, and Hebrew, and as well as Swahili. The last part of my presentation, I will speak about similarity between Arabic and Korean culture. As I said before, we write Arabic from right to left, and Old Korean is written from right to left. I get this photo from the gate of Gwanghwamun. So this is the Gwanghwamun, is written from right to left. The second similarity is the old dress, woman dress. This is the traditional dress of Korean lady 100 years ago, and this is the traditional dress of Omani ladies. So we see a lot of similarity in traditional dress in both cultures. Old education system. We have in most Arab countries before the systematic school, we have the katatib. And here in Korea, you have so dong. It's the same traditional way of teaching. Calligraphy. One of the best things about Arabic handwriting is the calligraphy. It's very artistic. And here in Korea, you have this syo ye, the same way of handwriting. Also on food, in Arabic we have kebab. In Korean you have gochujang. Other similarity between Arabic culture and Korean is the respect of elder people. In Arabic, if we meet with old person, even we know his name or we don't know his name, we don't call them by their name. We call them, if a man like al-walid, which means father, or uncle. So if it's lady, we call her al-walida, which means mother or auntie. And you have here in Korea the same system called sen, sing, nim. Also, another similarity, community versus individualism. We put more emphasis on the community. Also, in Arabic culture, we put a lot of stress on the family value and the hospitality. A lot of similarity between Korean people are very hospitable and welcoming people like Arab people, and with the hospitality of the Korean people, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. As Professor of General and French Linguistics, I can assure you that you made an excellent introduction of Arabic language and culture in less than 10 minutes. It was a really very instructive class. Thank you again. Now, may I invite our fourth speaker for this afternoon, Mr. Ömer Çelikol, Deputy Chief of Mission of the Turkish Embassy in Korea. Mr. Çelikol, please. The floor is yours for next 10 minutes. Merhaba.
Well, merhaba, esteemed President, Excellencies, distinguished professors and guests. It is a pleasure, it's a great pleasure to be here at HOFS, addressing you on this forum on critical foreign languages. This is a valuable initiative for encouraging understanding of foreign languages and their associated cultures, with the perspective of establishing a more cooperative relationship in the fields of language and culture between the participant countries. Therefore, I would full-heartedly thank the organizers of this forum for their constructive approach. In my presentation, I will introduce Turkish language by providing some brief historical context and share my thoughts on how we could promote more interest in Turkish language in Korea. Turkish is the most widely spoken of Turkic languages, with around 85 million speakers. It is the national language of Turkey and is also natively spoken by the Turkish diaspora in some 30 countries. Outside Turkey, significant smaller groups of speakers exist in Iraq, Syria, Germany, Austria, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, Northern Cyprus, Greece, Caucasus, and other parts of Europe and Central Asia. Turkish is a member of the Oğuz group of Turkic family and is mutually intelligible with Azerbaijani and other Turkic languages, which are spoken on a wide geographical area in Europe and Central Asia, among a population of close to 300 million people. Turkish belongs to the Altaic branch of the Ural-Altaic family of languages and is thus closely related to Mongolian, Manchu-Tungus, and Korean. Turkish is a very ancient language going back 5,500 to 8,500 years. It is a phonetic, morphological, and syntactic structure, and at the same time, it possesses a rich vocabulary. The fundamental features that distinguish Turkish and as a Ural-Altaic from the Indo-European languages are vowel harmony, absence of gender, agglutination, adjectives used before nouns, and your verbs used at the end of the sentence. Turkish languages spoken in Turkey can be classified according to three historical periods. The earliest known Old Turkic inscriptions are the three monumental Orkhon inscriptions found in modern-day Mongolia. With the Turkic expansion during the early Middle Ages, which is 6th to 11th centuries, people speaking Turkic languages spread across Central Asia, covering a vast geographical region stretching from Siberia all the way to Europe and the Mediterranean. Following the adoption of Islam in the 10th century by the Karakanid Khanate and the Seljuk Turks, who are both regarded as the ethnic and cultural ancestors of the Ottomans. The administrative language of these states acquired a large collection of loanwords from Arabic and Persian. After the foundation of the modern state of Turkey and the script reform in 1932, Turkey succeeded in removing several hundred Arabic and Persian words from the language and revived some of the old Turkish words that had not been used for centuries. In Turkey, we say every new language makes a new person. Languages open up horizons to new ideas, cultural interpretations, and ways of thinking. They carry with them the aura of thousands of years of tradition and thought. Geographically located at the crossroads of many continents, Turkey has served as a bridge and catalyst in the movement of knowledge and culture between the East and the West. Therefore, one can easily regard Turkey as a synthesis or a melting pot of diverse cultures and civilizations. As such, learning Turkish would be really helpful in understanding the region and bridging the divide between Eastern and Western cultures and values. Studying Turkish also lays a solid foundation for learning other modern Turkic languages like Azerbaijani, Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Tatar, Uzbek, and Uyghur. The different Turkic languages are closely related, and some of them are even mutually intelligible. Many of these languages are spoken in regions of vital strategic importance. It would also be relatively easy for Koreans to learn Turkish because of the following reasons. Related to Finnish, Hungarian, and Korean, Turkish is virtually grammatically identical to Korean. It is an agglutinative language that adds suffixes to the root word, and the regularity and predictability in Turkish of how these suffixes are added make it easier to internalize. Also similar to Korean, Turkish has postpositions rather than prepositions, and objects usually precede verbs, making it surprisingly fast for Turkish and Koreans to learn each other's languages. Finally, I would like to touch upon ways to promote Turkish and Korean languages in our respective countries. There's plenty of interest in Turkey about Korean culture, especially K-pop music, and TV dramas are very popular among youngsters in Turkey. There are many teenagers that are attending Korean language courses because of their growing interest towards Korea. Our students come to Korea to enroll in its renowned universities, building bonds of friendship that will last for a lifetime. On the other hand, the more than 1,000 Turkish people living in Korea and around 3,000 Koreans living in Turkey serve as a permanent bridge between these two countries. We are glad to observe that Turkey, thanks to the Hof's language education programs, there are many proficient Turkish-speaking Koreans. Turkish Embassy has recently signed a declaration of intent document with Hofs to encourage student exchange programs in order to further enhance their language skill level and as well as their mutual awareness towards each other's cultures. To this end, I believe we should reinforce our capacity for student exchanges. Similarly, we can work on a professor exchange program between Hofs and selected foreign language universities in Turkey. This would not only promote language exchange and proficiency, but also allow for a wider spectrum of cooperation between our educational institutions. In 2019, we established the Yunus Emre Institute within the Hankook University of Foreign Studies as the first and only Turkish cultural institute in Korea. I'm happy to note that this institute's invaluable contributions into strengthening the cultural bonds between Turkey and Korea, these are really commendable. Its language courses are also instrumental in introducing more Koreans to the Turkish language and culture. We can further develop the relationship between Hofs and Yunus Emre Institute so that language teaching programs are more integrated and coordinated. In terms of future projects aimed at increasing awareness for each other's languages, I strongly support Hofs initiatives such as the development of a standard curriculum for each of the critical languages, also developing basic materials on standard curriculums, books and tests would be beneficial. Furthermore, developing dictionaries for different language levels, language skill levels, and doing this on a digital platform would be highly productive. Another initiative we can work on is to build a digital platform for critical foreign languages education, where students can easily access necessary educational materials as well as form networking groups. As such, we can consider establishing a student Turkish language club and study group within HOFS. In a similar way, as is already done by HOFS, we can promote further language competitions where winners are awarded all-inclusive trips to Turkey. In the academic fields, we can hold annual or biannual Turkish, Korean language or literature conferences between HOFS and prominent Turkish universities. One other thought is to launch a summer school or a camp program, encouraging Turkish and Korean students to visit each other's country during their summer vacations. An important aspect of raising awareness of Turkish in Korea is the effective use of social media platforms such as Instagram and Facebook. We can identify social media influencers in Korea and arrange for them a trip to Turkey to introduce them to the Turkish culture and language. In closing, I would like to emphasize the importance of cultural interactions in strengthening mutual understanding among peoples and creating an environment conducive for cooperation. As the fundamental mode of communication between individuals, language is perhaps one of the most critical or crucial elements for establishing this understanding. Therefore, by diminishing the barriers of language through initiatives such as the CFL, we will be better suited to further strengthen the awareness and brotherhood between our nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Omer Chalikul, for your interesting presentation. I think our Korean students, especially those of Turkish department, will share your view concerning different advantages of learning Turkish language and also about future perspective between two countries and also universities of our two countries. Thank you. Well, I'll now invite our fifth speaker, which is His Excellency Luis Henrique Sobreira Lopes, Ambassador of Brazil to Korea. Boa tarde again, Your Excellency. You have the floor now.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. It is indeed an honor to represent Brazil and to co-represent the Portuguese language with the Ambassador of Portugal in this event, organized by the Center for Critical Foreign Languages Education of the Hankook University of Foreign Studies. I thank the organizers for inviting me to this session and for the opportunity to address you on this subject that is so dear to me. I would like to greet the chairperson, Mr. Yoon Sok Man, and of course, the director of the CFLE, as well as my fellow ambassadors and diplomats from Portugal, Poland, Oman, Kenya, and Turkey, with whom I am delighted to share this session today. As Ambassador Gonçalves has already pointed out before me, Portuguese is one of the most widespread languages spoken in the world by more than 200 million people. It is also worth stressing that it's the most widely spoken language, as Ambassador Gonçalves also pointed out, in the Southern Hemisphere. It is an official language of 9 countries, spreading through 4 continents, as well as some international organizations, such as the European Union, the Organization of American States, the African Union, and Mercosur. In 1989, during the first summit meeting of heads of state of the Portuguese language countries, some years after the independence of the Portuguese language African countries, the presidents of Brazil, Portugal, Angola, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, and São Tomé e Príncipe decided to create the International Portuguese Language Institute, which today constitutes a part of the Community of Portuguese Language Countries, which was founded in 1996. Timor-Leste joined the CPLP in 2002 after its independence, and Equatorial Guinea became its 9th member in 2014. This has been a forum dedicated to the promotion of the language, but also to political coordination and cooperation among its members. In this context, it's important to underline that most of Brazil's international cooperation for development is directed to its partners and fellow members of CPLP. Portuguese is a fascinating language that evolved from dialects, as pointed out by Ambassador Gonçalves, of Latin. As part of the Romance groups, it is quite similar to both Spanish and Italian, and even closer to Galician, spoken in northwestern Spain. Centuries down in history, Portugal's empire spread the Portuguese language across the globe. From Brazil to Timor-Leste, So Portuguese speakers accounted for the first wave of globalization during the 15th and 16th centuries. Because of that, Portuguese influenced the lexicon of other languages, including some in Asia, such as Malay, Chinese, Japanese, and even Korean. Korean language borrowed from Portuguese some words like bread, pão, pão in Portuguese, and more recently, the idiom tá bom, which conveys the idea that something has a positive evaluation. Portuguese is a global language. As UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay stressed last year on the occasion of the World Portuguese Language Day, May 5th, I quote, "The Portuguese language builds bridges between peoples. With a transcontinental history which spans the centuries, the Lusophone world is today a melting pot of cultures. Portuguese is the language of creativity, of music, from fado to bossa nova, a language of literature, cinema, but also a language of science, innovation, solidarity, seas and oceans." I end the quotation. As a member of the vast Portuguese-speaking community spread across all corners of the world, Brazil has an important task to fulfill in terms of promoting our language. The international promotion of Portuguese is a historic priority for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Brazil through its network of embassies, consulates, cultural centers, and more than 20 lectureships abroad. This brings me to one of the main topics I wanted to address today, the newly opened Brazilian lectureship in Korea, perhaps the latest initiative abroad of this kind by the Brazilian government. It is part of a Brazil-sponsored program aimed at placing qualified Brazilian professors specialized in Portuguese language, Brazilian literature and culture in higher education institutes overseas. The first lectureship in Korea was possible as a result of our valuable partnership with Hufs, who accepted our invitation to host a Brazilian professor. I cannot stress enough the importance of the role played by the director of the Portuguese department in this university, Professor Lim So-ra, in making this initiative a success. Professor Alexandre Ferreira Martins has just started his activities here at Hufs as a lecturer. He has been in Seoul since late last March and has been teaching Portuguese to Korean students. This CFLE event is very timely as it gives me the occasion to share with you in person the news of this recent and welcome initiative. Professor Martins is expected to stay in Korea for the next 2 to 4 years, and I am very excited about the opportunities arising from his work at Tufts. I am confident that this new lectureship will foster educational, academic, and cultural cooperation between Korea and Brazil. I would also like to mention 2 other Brazil-supported initiatives aimed at promoting Portuguese in Korea. The Certificate of Proficiency in Portuguese for Foreigners, CELPE-BRAS, as we call it, is the official Brazilian exam to certify proficiency in Portuguese as a foreign language. It has been periodically administered in Brazil and abroad since 1993, and specifically in Korea since 2005. The other initiative is the Exchange Program for Foreign Undergraduate Students, PEC-G, Brazil's largest scholarship program. PEC-G offers free of charge thousands of scholarships annually to undergraduate students from many countries, including Korea, which joined this program last year, 2020. Courses from all university departments are covered, particularly areas in which Brazil is internationally recognized, such as agronomy or bio and medical sciences. It's very difficult to speak with a mask and I'm almost out of breath. The details about the program, founded in 1965, are listed at the website of the Embassy of Brazil in Seoul. In order to participate in PEC-G, a student must pass a CELPE-BRAS. Portuguese is considered to be a critical language in Korea because the presence of our language in this country is still very limited, and regular Portuguese language classes are not readily available here. These limitations highlight the huge efforts made by Koreans who decide to learn Portuguese. This is especially remarkable given the highly competitive nature of the Korean job market, and more recently, the growing interest of working abroad among Korean young job seekers. For those who are willing to develop their professional career in Brazil, Korean conglomerates with a strong presence there regularly hire employees who speak both Korean and Portuguese. Portuguese is also a language of innovation. For those with an entrepreneurial mindset, Brazil is a country with vast opportunities to start a new business. With a thriving domestic market of more than 210 million people living in 27 federal states, entrepreneurial Koreans can find good chances to start a business in a variety of sectors. Brazil is also a hotbed of startups. The country counts 12 unicorns, which is slightly above Korea's 11 unicorn. The city of São Paulo hosts the most dynamic startup scene in Latin America, being among the world's best 20 startup cities. Portuguese is also a major language on the internet. It is the 5th most used language online and a major market for social media companies. 130 million Brazilians have Facebook accounts. 100 million Brazilians share their pictures on Instagram, the 3rd countries by number of users, after the US and India. And 105 million Brazilians post their videos on YouTube with 1,800 of them owning channels with more than 1 million followers. All these users are writing, sharing, and communicating in Portuguese. Recent research shows that Brazilians spend on average 3 hours and 40 minutes a day using social networks. Speaking their language is key to understand their needs and interests and to take advantage of all business opportunities related to Brazil. At last but not least, according to UNESCO's estimates, Portuguese is one of the fastest growing European languages after English and has a high potential for growth as an international language in Southern Africa and South America. So I would like to address an invitation to the many young students that are accompanying us today, to come to Brazil, to study Portuguese and come to Brazil and join the almost 60,000 Koreans who are already there and have chosen Brazil as their new country. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I think thanks to the presentation, thanks to your presentation and also that of His Excellency Manuel Antonio Gonçalves de Jesus, Ambassador of Portugal to Korea, our students at HOPS, and also Portuguese learning Korean students are sufficiently aware of the importance of Portuguese language in global scene. Thank you again. Now I am very happy to invite our sixth speaker, Her Excellency Madam Muende Muinzi, Ambassador of Kenya to Korea. I think among critical foreign languages taught at HOPS, she is representing Swahili. Yes, thank you. If my pronunciation is correct, Habari Mchana.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, your pronunciation is correct. President Kim Il-chul, President Kim Yong-gun, Excellencies, distinguished faculty, the student body, both present and virtual. Annyeonghaseyo, habari zenu, a very good afternoon to you. It's indeed a pleasure to be joined here by my Minister, Joseph Busiega, as we address this forum, the Ambassadors Forum. It's my first of this kind, so it's indeed a pleasure. I'll just touch briefly on the relationship between Kenya and Korea before I get into our main topic, which is, of course, the language of Kiswahili. Kenya's relationship, its diplomatic relationship with the Republic of Korea goes back just literally 2 months after we attained our independence in 1963. It dates back to February of 1964, and it's a relationship that has continuously deepened both diplomatically and economically since then. One of the biggest benefits that we have as Kenyans is the amount of investment the Korean government and the Korean people have placed in the education of Kenyan students. We have benefited from scholarships both from the government and from generous institutions such as HOPS. And it gives me a great sense of pride to be here today noting, as I speak about Kiswahili, that Kiswahili was actually the first foreign language that was introduced by HOPS. It gives me a great sense of pride to note that. And we have since been followed by 44 other languages, which underscores the importance of language, especially in today's environment where we are so intertwined and so interdependent, so interlinked with one another. It is not just a global village by name, but in all practical ways. I think the COVID pandemic illustrates that well. I think matters such as global terrorism do the same. Language is important. Language binds us. It allows us to communicate. It's global. And when you look at languages like Kiswahili, which are laced with proverbs, You know, languages are rich. I think it was Chinua Achebe from West Africa who said that proverbs are the palm oil with which words are eaten. And so going to look at a proverb-rich language, let us look at what Kiswahili is. So most people call it Swahili, but it's actually Kiswahili. Swahili is a culture, Kiswahili is the language. And it's considered the lingua franca of the African continent. What most people do not realize is that Swahili is quite pervasive across the country, across the continent. Of the roughly 2,000 languages of Africa, Swahili is actually one of the widest spoken and intertwined into the indigenous African languages. It's spoken by about 45 million native speakers, and then approximately 150 million speakers across the world. My counterpart from Portugal mentioned the influence of and I think from Oman also, the influence of their languages on Kiswahili. But you can see here the various countries that it is spoken in. You've got Tanzania, Kenya, these are all just neighboring countries. But then you go further down into Eastern Congo Republic, even Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, and even up to northern Zambia. So it was essentially conceived as a functional language. Kiswahili is essentially a trading language that was supposed to facilitate trade between the East African region and the Arabs, the Persians, and of course the Indians, because we're off the Indian Ocean. Now what it has done is it has absorbed indigenous languages, primarily Bantu languages. I happen to be a Bantu, my language is Kikamba. But alongside Kikamba, you've got Pokomo, you've got Taita, you've got Mijikenda, and other coastal languages. But importantly, and I think what is relevant to this discussion today, as we talk about the interdependence and interconnection that we have as a globe, Kiswahili is not just about Bantu languages. It has, as part of it, borrowed very heavily from Arabic, from English, from Greek, Chinese even, there's sprinkles of Chinese, from French, Spanish, German, Japanese, Latin, a lot of Portuguese, Turkish, and of course Indian languages, again, because of the trade. And it has a significant influence from Arab. And the word itself, Swahili, means from off the coast. So if we're to single out Arabic, and we look at those words, and of course there's also a religious influence in Kenya. Peace be upon you, salam alaikum, which we use as a standard greeting. Karibu, come in. You can see the equivalent in Arabic. How are you? Habari yako? Kabar. Now I might mispronounce some of these, but definitely not all of them. And of course, salama, I'm well at peace. Salam, samahani. You've got the equivalent in tafadali, which is essentially saying tafadali is actually please, not thank you. So that is a mistake. I apologize. So looking back at all the languages that we mentioned, Arabic, Persian, Hindustani, Portuguese, and Malay, which and Kiswahili, like we said, have spoken pervasively. Just look at the similarities. I don't want Ambassador Jesus to fine me for mispronouncing cigarette in Portuguese. However, you can see the similarities and the influence that these various languages have had on Kiswahili. Kikamba, which is my language, which is the last one there, we call a cigarette sikala. Sikala is very similar to sigara in Kiswahili. Again, Kikamba is a Bantu language. So Kiswahili occupies a special place in Kenya's linguistic landscape. It's actually one of two official and national languages, English being the other. Of course, you may be aware that we're a former British colony. And it is actually incorporated in our national constitution. So whereas some groups use it as a first language, others use it as a second. And virtually all our educational facilities, from primary school right up to universities, have Kiswahili as a class that is mandated. And then you can get to choose another foreign language as you progress. It is key to our very existence. You also have various forms of Kiswahili that have been modernized. There's a version of Kiswahili that is more slang, that is called Sheng, which are generally used by youth in the urban areas. So we've already discussed the Arab influence and the Indian influence, but it draws into the very essence of who Kenyans are and what Kenyans define themselves as. Kiswahili is not just a language, it is part of who we are. It's ingrained in us, and that's reflected in our very foods. You will notice, if you're familiar with Indian and Arab foods, biryani, which is a rice, is not something that's indigenous to Kenya per se, as well as samosas, but brought to us from the Persians, from the Arabs, from also the Indians, and chapati as well, which is similar to naan. So again, these are just other examples. Kahawa, the equivalent in Arabic, which ties back into then now the masala tea, which is interesting because as an ex-British colony, we take our tea very, very seriously. We're not only one of the largest tea growers globally and happen to boast some of the best tea globally, but we drink tea we have 2 tea breaks. We have high tea and we have a 10 o'clock tea break. But the way in which we make the tea is more Indian or Arab than actually British. We don't just put a tea bag in and put a dash of milk. We actually boil the tea and we spice it because we are right next to Zanzibar, which is rich in spices. So we add cardamom, we add cloves, we add, in fact, not just ginger, but we also add black pepper. And then we eat it with snacks that, again, also have Middle Eastern Indian influence. If I'm sure the students watching are very familiar with the henna tattoos, which are, again, very Middle Eastern, very Arabic, but it's part of our culture. So when in ceremonies such as weddings or other festivities, it's commonplace to see people adorning themselves with henna tattoos. Some of my colleagues mentioned how their languages have been officialized. We also have Kiswahili as one of the official languages of the African Union. And we've talked about its role in trading. And we've talked about the fact that it is taught, I didn't mention this, but the fact that it's taught in about 100 top universities. I mentioned that it was the first language that was introduced here in 1982. And in the period since, just using your institution as an example, in the period since, there have been lots of exchanges at a faculty level and at a student body. As we speak here, our very own Professor Nyachae is in our audience. And that makes us very proud to know that there are students nationwide in Korea who are keen to learn the language of Kiswahili and and the country generally and the institutions are investing in bringing faculty here from Kenya so that you get the authentic version of Kiswahili. You have, as the world has globalized, you have institutions, media institutions, that have since broken off from their standard way of communicating to actually introducing a Kiswahili line. BBC has a Kiswahili line, Voice of America, etc., etc. So it's generally thought that English is predominant in Kenya, but there are many places in Kenya that you will go to that English is, much as it's taught as a main language in school, but you will find that there are people, especially in the rural areas, depending on how rural you get, that are not really conversant in English. But Kiswahili in its various forms will be spoken from the north to the south, the east to the west. And what we're seeing is there's a new sense of pride across Africa. There's a new sense of pride in Kenya itself, in more people embracing the language and learning to know it. And we're, in fact, developing a lot of content that is Swahili-based. which is something that may seem commonplace, but it actually isn't, because previously there was such a gravitas towards English that we somewhat sideswiped our indigenous languages, our ethnic languages, and Kiswahili as well. Now you're seeing the late Miriam Makeba, who was one of my favorite singers. She had Kiswahili in her song. I know that Kiswahili may have hit most of the world with The Lion King, with Hakuna Matata, which in fact I believe Disney tried to copyright. But Hakuna Matata, which means no worries, is again kind of reflective of the Kenyan spirit. We may have our challenges, but we always believe that we can overcome them. Hakuna Matata, we shall overcome, no worries. So that just, is just talking about the trade, some illustrations, how Kiswahili is on social media. It's quite pervasive, people tweet, and this is not, again, limited to Kenya. This is across the continent. And to summarize here, it's such a pleasure to be here. When I actually was preparing for this presentation, I did not realize that we started the foreign languages program, so to speak, as a language. But to watch it develop, Mr. Chair, to watch it develop to 45 languages that Hankook University now teaches, I think underscores, again, the importance of the unity, the importance of deepening our cooperation as a people and as governments, and the importance, really, of understanding each other. Because they say that when it comes to language, if you want to understand me, then learn to speak my language. I thank you very much for your audience.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Swahili represents certainly our unique value of foreign language education at HUBS. I think thanks to your presentation, we are all now more familiar with Swahili language. Thank you again. Now we have listened to all 6 communications scheduled for this afternoon. Before we close this second session, perhaps I will take 2 or 3, perhaps a few questions. 2 questions? Okay. What shall I do if among our students, please raise your hand if you'd like to ask your question. Is it the procedure? Okay.
I would like to ask a question to Her Excellency Madam Mwende Muinzi, Ambassador of Republic of Kenya to Korea. First of all, Your Excellency, thank you for your amazing speech. It's such an honor to have a chance to participate in here as an undergraduate studying East Africa. My question is, from learning Swahili, I got to realize Kiswahili is a critical foreign language, and it surely does have a possibility to be a next leading global lingua franca. In this context, what can East African countries, as well as Kenya, do to make Koreans exposed to Kiswahili and actually learn it, especially to youth like us? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question and for the compliment. I think a similar question was asked to the envoy of Thailand, and it related to how we can encourage the learning of languages, especially in an environment such as this. If you know, and I'm sure you're quite familiar with the fact that Kenya has a high internet connectivity, we also have a high youth base, but importantly, we're very technologically savvy. In fact, we're referred to as the Silicon Savannah. So I think the onus is on us, the countries that have Kiswahili as a predominant language, and that includes our neighbor Tanzania, is to try and mainstream as many educational opportunities that can not just attract but harness the hunger that an increasing number of students such as you have in Kiswahili. Now, I don't know if you've been to Kenya, but I'd encourage you to actually get to Kenya because the learning experience will be significantly enriched. And while there, please enjoy some of our fantastic wildlife. Thank you.
Thank you. Asante sana.
Perhaps if you have another question, please raise your hand. Yeah, you perhaps another question from floor students? Yes, Mr. Yeah, please ask your question.
I want to thank Your Excellencies for visiting our school to speak to us. My name is Minju Go. I'm a freshman at this Hankook University of Foreign Studies. Boa tarde, Vossa Excelência. As I major in Portuguese, I would like to ask a question to Your Excellency, Manuel Gonçalves de Jesus, the Portuguese Ambassador to Korea. I hope I pronounced the name correctly as well, Your Excellency. From the Portuguese standpoint, there probably are many reasons, but what do you think is the most essential and important reason why that Korea and Portugal should maintain the strategic partnership? Besides, due to the COVID-19, I assume that there are many difficulties of personal exchange between South Korea. In this circumstance, what do you think is the breakthrough that these two countries can cooperate to develop and go forward mutually?
Okay, thank you for the question. Now, one of the, as I understand this, you asked me why you should learn Portuguese and how we can communicate and enlarge our communication between countries and between people to people, and of course we also between the companies and those that work in daily life. Well, specifically in the case of Korea, as you mentioned, we are now in the middle of one crisis, pandemic, that changed quite our lives in the way, even the way you breathe, like you see, the difficulties that we have. But till the end of 2019, we were living between Korea and Portugal, living in a context where the communications increase in a very fast way. And this was not a result of any kind of promotion that we did. It was simply the fact that Koreans start to go to Portugal, and in a small number, the Portuguese start to come to Korea. And this is the best way to promote our relations also, in the best way to understand each other. And when, for instance, when you go to Portugal and you come back with some words, with some tastes, with something that you like, you are the best way to promote our language, our culture in the general terms. So, at the same time, I understand that although this is not enough, we have also to look to initiatives like this one that the university have. The university of Hankook University is one of those institutions that in Korea work to create these instruments of communications. The Department of Portuguese, for instance, is invaluable. In fact, it's helping us to find these new ways and to increment this kind of communication. So we have to work also with institutions like this university also, of course. But between our two countries, I think that what contributed more to make us know each other was the people-to-people contacts that has been developed, especially in people like you of your age that have more curiosity and are more open to learn more and to go to other countries and try to understand the other. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for your question and answers, Your Excellencies. I'd like to take more questions, but already we are running more than 20 minutes late behind the schedule, and I regret to stop this second session now. Professor Lee, you have the floor now. Thank you for all your attention. Thank you again.
Yes, the second session has now concluded. Thank you very much to the chairperson, Professor Yoon Sung-man, and all distinguished speakers for their presentation. Next, Professor Oh Jong-jin, Director of CFLE, will share a few closing remarks.
Yes, Excellencies, distinguished guests, once again, thank you very much for your participation, also to our students for about 3 hours conference. Thank you for being patient and being focused on our event today. And due to many difficulties, our organizing committee of this conference, our CFLE, was preparing this conference more than 2 months. Due to the COVID situation, every day we were about praying that whether we could do this event or not. Whatsoever, due to some of our on-tech technology, we have invited many students as well as our distinguished guests from the 12 countries. Well, once again, Excellencies, the ambassadors, thank you very much for participating in today's event, and also the National Institute of Education being with us for a whole 3 hours today, and also the professor here, all the members of our professors who are in charge of all the participating languages. Today, whole events are recorded in the video, so there won't be any paper proceeding, but we are going to prepare the video proceeding coming soon. So once we have done the whole video proceeding, we will like to share the whole our output to the ambassadors by respective embassy, and also to the professors and students as well. Yes, once again, I don't like to speak long. It's already half an hour past. So, it's Friday night. Thanks, it's Friday. Hope you enjoy your weekend today. Well, I was very worried today since that it was supposed to rain. But in the morning, I found that we have a very clear sky with very sunny weather. I think this is somehow of a blessing of our critical foreign language in our upcoming. So, once again, thank you very much for your participation, and have a safe travel back to your home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the closing remarks, Professor Oh. This marks the end of the first CFL Ambassador Forum. We would like to express our deepest gratitude to all the honorable members of HOOFS and distinguished ambassadors, as well as our all students. Thank you.